Okay, let's take a look at the fun stuff. Attaching this guitar to this mocap and making sure that everything works together. Okay, so the first thing that we need to think about is I need to get the guitar to follow his body, right? Now, like I said before, using a simple Maya constraint won't work because let's say, for example, I attach the guitar using the simple parent constraint and then you notice he's dancing a lot. Let's say the thigh kind of goes through the guitar. I won't be able to animate the guitar out of his thigh, right, if it's intersecting. So again, we need to use this method that we just learned so that I can animate the guitar independently but still have it follow his body. Okay, so for this example, I'm gonna use this technique or the method, but attach it to the hips, right? The cog, the center of gravity. So kind of like the head and cap example, I'm gonna use the hips like it's the head. This is gonna be the main driver or the leader for my prop. In this case, the guitar, which we can see it as the cap. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the poly so I don't accidentally select the geo. And I'm gonna create that locator system again. Okay, so what do we do first? Go to create locator, and then without moving it, Control G. And then I like to now select the locator, increase the size, I don't know, something like that. Okay, now you can, and I highly recommend you name these. So I'm gonna say, for example, guitar, LOC for locator, and then the group is gonna be guitar GRP. So that is our group and our locator. And then this way, if I have multiple locators, I know that one belongs to my guitar, maybe the other one belongs to something else, and so forth. So this is sort of important that you rename them. Okay. Now again, selecting the group, as we saw in that example, we want to select the group in the outliner, not in the viewport. And then I'm going to move it to the hip controller. So I am going to first open my parent option box, make sure that is off because I do want to match the pivot points because I want this to move from the origin of the grid to the hips. So first things first, let's deselect everything. Select my parent. In this case is going to be this hip controller because I want the guitar to move with the hips when he's dancing, right? You can select the chest controller, but let's say if his chest is kind of twisting too much, then the guitar might swing around a little too much. So I don't want to use the chest, but you can try it out either way. This is something that I would use your best judgment. But for this case, I'm going to select the hips, and then I'm going to control and click the guitar group. And then I'm going to say apply and watch the group, which, you know, has the locator, will move and snap there. So let's try it. Boom. You can see the locator is somewhere here in the hips, right? So this is where I don't want to say it gets tricky, but you just have to be aware of what you're doing. Okay, so now we have the group moving with the hips, and then the locator, because it's the child of the group, will move with the group. So if I click play, you can see it happening there with my locator down here. It's moving along. So far so good. Now we want to grab what? The guitar, right? The guitar, and we want to do that trick where I deleted the hat in that example, but now we want to grab the guitar and parent it to the locator. Okay, now we parented the group, not the locator. So the locator is going to be the parent, and then my guitar is going to be the child. So I just selected locator first, guitar second, maintain offset is off because I want the position of the guitar to match the position of my locator. So if I hit apply, boom, the guitar went flying back there. So now you can see that the position has matched my locator. And now remember, if I can close this, there is that freedom between the child and the parent here happening. So if I select the child, this is the guy that's going to run around free. Remember, always the child, which means now this has become my controller for the guitar, not that controller that we saw on the actual guitar any longer. So I'm going to grab the locator, move it out, and then now I can sort of position this wherever I want, and it's going to follow the body. So if I press play, just to show you that, right, and the locator is moving exactly as the group is. And then now I can, let's say, go frame 0 and then grabbing my locator again, and then just reposition this sort of where I think it belongs. Okay, then I'm going to press play. And then let's say this is fairly okay. This is where I want it. I'm kind of watching the guitar in his thigh, making sure that it doesn't intersect. But in case it ever did, I can always animate it because now I have that locator and that luxury of being able to animate it independently, right? And that's the beauty of this setup. And then also, you know, if the director says, you know, I want him to really rock out and I want him to lift the guitar and like just really bring it up here, just like really go crazy or whatever, then you have the ability to do that, okay? So that's, again, another plus of using this system. Now, we need to worry about the left hand. Now, for the left hand, we're going to use the exact same setup, but this is going to be so that the hand can move up and down on the guitar, right? Because we need the left hand to be attached to the guitar. But again, we don't want to use just a simple parent constraint because that means we won't be able to animate it. If I want him to make chords and move his hand up and down the neck of the guitar, it won't allow me to do that. I need to use, again, the same setup. So in order to do this, we always go to a frame that we want to go to. Now, keep in mind, we are going to lose the mocap data when we constrain it because it's just going to be attached and it's going to be constrained to this system that we have. So we're actually going to hand key the position for this. So first of all, I'm going to quickly probably speed this up, just pose and make sure that the hand is nicely on the neck of the guitar. And so now what I need to do is go ahead and create this setup. So again, I am going to create a locator, press Ctrl G to group it, and then select the locator and scale it up. And then now for this system, we're going to focus on the guitar and his left hand. Okay, so we need to think again, what's going to be the parent in this case between the guitar and the hand? What drives what, or what moves and what follows, right? So in this case, we need the guitar to be the parent and his left hand to be the child, because again, when I move the guitar, I want his left hand to automatically follow it. And also I'll be able to do that trick where I can move the hand with the locator. So, okay, now I have the guitar. Fortunately, now I sort of created two controllers, the guitar locator and the guitar actual control. Now we're not using the guitar actuals controller, so let's go ahead and use this one now. So this guitar control is going to be our parent, and then I'm going to call this left hand group, and then you guessed it, the bottom will be the locator. So I am going to select the parent, which is the guitar controller, open my parent option box here, And then once I have selected the guitar controller, I'm going to select that left hand group, do a control click, and then I'm going to say apply. And then that's going to move that group from the origin onto the guitar. So if I press W, you can see it there. And also notice if you press W and click, left click, if you're under object, you notice that the line that it matches the orientation of the neck of the guitar, which is exactly what we want, because once we create this pose on his left hand, I don't want to change it. I don't want to have to rotate the wrist. I just want to be able to use this locator to move it up and down the neck of the guitar. Okay, so now that I have the left hand group onto the guitar, as we can see, if I select that, the locator, it is moving with the guitar, so I can verify that it is working. So now I need to move the locator. Typically I would snap the hand to the locator, but in this case I'm just gonna go ahead and move the locator just in one axis. Make sure you don't rotate it like this, because now your axis is off. And then I'm just going to position it fairly close to where the hand is. It doesn't really matter, somewhere here. And then now what I can do is constrain the IK hand and the locator. Now again, remember, I probably should have set this sooner, but it's almost a no-brainer that pretty sure your left hand would have to be an IK for this to work. Otherwise, you won't be able to slide it up and down just using one controller, because FK works just by rotating, not translating. Okay, so make sure that your left hand is an IK. Now what I need to do is select the locator, which is going to be my leader or the parent, and then select the IK left wrist, and that is going to be the child. Now if we look here, I like the position of the left hand, right? My pivot is back here, my locator is in front here. I don't want this to actually match the position, so I actually want to maintain the distance between these two. Otherwise this will snap here. So let me show you. It'll snap there and it'll match the orientation, and I don't want to have to reposition it and then move my locator, and then it's going to screw up the axis down the neck. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm just simply going to maintain offset and hit add. Add just will apply it and then close the window. And then now that we've added that, watch this. Now I can move my hand up and down the neck of the guitar, right? Which is pretty cool, because the locator is now grouped, which is grouped and parent constraint to the guitar controller. So all this is working within the guitar, and then the guitar is working within the hips. So if I click play, it might be a little broken in certain areas, but don't worry, we can fix that. I'm going to show you how, but you can see we are hyperextending on certain areas. But again, let's pretend this is a AAA game. This is for PlayStation 5 and you're working for like Naughty Dog or Santa Monica Studios. Like, it has to be really, really good, high quality. So I'm not going to leave you hanging on how to fix something like that. Okay. So now we're done with that system for now. So let's look at the right hand. What did I do here? Let's look at the right hand. The right hand is going through the guitar. There isn't much room here. So for this, I'm going to add an animation layer. So I'll go to animation. There's some couple of layers that were created for the rig, so you can ignore those. That has nothing to do with this setup. So to make this work, I am going to include all three controllers that make up the right arm. I was going to say probably IK, but no, I like to animate free hands in FK. So he's not really holding on to anything on the guitar. The hand is the one that's going to be strumming the guitar. So I'm going to probably do a wireframe so I can see. I think it is in IK because I don't see the controller for the elbow. So I need to switch this over. How do I switch that over? Is it this one? Yeah, so this I'm going to switch to FK. And there they are. So now I'm going to select my shoulder or the clavicle, and then this is the bicep. This is the forearm. And then the wrist controller is like this one. And then I'm going to create a new layer, an animation layer, not on display, but animation. And then I'm going to add my selection. And then now what I'm going to do is go to first frame, press S. Did it set a key? Yes. Okay, I'm going to minimize my time range. And then from here, I'm going to pose this out a little bit better. So the arm needs to be like out here. And then maybe a little further back, and then this a little higher. And then this needs to be further in. And then you can go in here and repose the fingers. I'm just going to go ahead and pose the arm a little bit quick here. And then from here on out, you can set keyframes on areas where it's going through. You can like reposition the elbow because it's probably sticking out a little too much here. Then you would go in here and you can tone this down. And then going back into the fixing the hyperextension, now that we have the controller for the guitar, you can come in here and say frame 0, set a keyframe, looks good. Frame, say 26, it's hyperextending, so I'm going to move the guitar up. And you can even move the guitar slightly in. And notice that the left hand is automatically following, which is really nice. You can even like rotate this like that. If the left hand is not working with you because it looks like the wrist is broken, then again, fortunately, we have this setup where you can just come in here and rotate, animate the locator. And again, be careful to not rotate like this angle because now your axis is not pointing in the correct location. And you won't be able to get the sliding here to work correctly. So always be aware of the axis that you're working on. All right, so this is looking pretty good. I don't see any intersecting on the thighs and the guitar. The left arm is not hyperextending. And so now this is looking a lot better. We have a nice system. I can come in here and animate the guitar to like do crazy stuff, and then using the animation layer to adjust the right arm to always follow where the chords are to be strumming in the correct location. All right, obviously you'd pose the right fingers to be something nice, but again, going back into this, probably didn't mention this, but now you can set a keyframe here, move it down, set a keyframe there, so he goes from up to down, set a keyframe there. You can copy this one if you wanted it to loop, right? And then you would go back here and then you would paste it and it's going to go back. So now it goes up, down, up, and there you have it. You can animate the fingers, and then this is how you would do a really nice simple setup once you understand how to group a locator and then how to do a parent constraint. So hopefully you guys found this tutorial very useful. I know it's fairly long, but it's an in-depth explanation about, I would almost say, everything you need to know about parent constraint. I've used this, like I said, in games like The Last of Us 2 and very big titles, and this actually will work in a game engine. All you have to do now is bake it to the joints, and then you should be able to delete the setup. Let me see if I can show you that. So I'm going to try this live. Let's see how this works out, but I'm pretty sure you should be able to do this. So I'm just going to select the groups and the locators, and I like to just bake those out. Bake simulation, you can do edit, reset, and then just say bake. And now this is if you're going to be exporting it into a game engine. Obviously, game engines do not like constraints, so you need to bake this down to the joints, or in this case, the controllers, but then you would just bake it down to the joints. And then when that's done, you go, this is a human IK character, so then I would just go bake and bake to the custom rig, and then this will bake everything, I believe, to the controls. And then I think this guy has a script that allows you to export an FBX with the joints. And then the guitar also was something that I rigged independently, so I would have to come in here to the guitar and then select the the guitar joint, because there's two joints, one up here and then one at the root, which would be down here. So I need to select the guitar joint and then bake that one, just to make sure that the constraint is no longer applied to the hips, and you'll be able to delete that, and the guitar should still be in this position. And then I think I had an issue with the left hand popping off, so if I delete now my guitar setup and my left hand setup, let's see if this works. No, it actually, okay, it did pop off. So I think I just need to, let me undo that. Select the controller and then bake this. I'm not sure if the human IK is set up for IK. I think it should, but in another case, if it doesn't work, then I can just bake it manually, and then this should do it. Let me take a look at this. If I select the left hand, delete it, and play it, yeah, that did it. So I guess I had to do it manually and delete the guitar. So I no longer have my constraint set up, but notice that this is still working the way that I had originally done it. So this is game ready. You can export this now into your game engine. So as complex as the setup was, it is able to be used in like Unreal or Unity, and this should be ready to go. And I think we should have the left hand going up and down near the bridge, see? So that's still working, and we no longer have that constraint setup with the group and all that complicated stuff. So hopefully you found this tutorial useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I think this is a very important constraint system to understand. So yeah, thanks for checking it out.